Hi, so I'm now going to show you how to enter in data when a person has gone home. So you will have the patients in the discharged patients section to do. Now, say you are completing a discharge summary on a patient who's not quite left the hospital yet, but you want to get on and finish off the record anyway. They might be in the active patients, and we're going to carry on with Olive Asher. So Olive Asher, we need to actually say that they're discharged. So we can manually enter this in here. If you wait for the patient to actually go home, the hospital systems will update DIVA, and then this will actually be automatically entered in. So we're going to say that the patient has gone home on the 31st, and they went to the community, and now we can see that when we go back to here, they are actually under the discharged patients section. Now there's a red indicator here saying that basically this is not complete yet. So we're going to have to fill out and make sure that the record is complete. Now the first thing I know is that this patient actually had a complication. So we're going to enter in a complication. And they had a wound infection. So I'm going to put in infection. And I can't quite see if there is a wound infection. So I'm going to expand this so I can see everything to do with infection, and now I've found wound infection. Then I'm going to click on the text and wound infection, and we're just going to say it was on the back, and we treated it with some antibiotics, so the severity was minor. Now actually in the newer version of DIVA, which is not on this demo site, the severity is actually in Clavien-Dindo grading 1 to 5, and if you can't remember exactly what the definitions of each grade is, if you click on this info, it will take you to the original paper where there is a table describing exactly what each grade means. Here you will see associated procedures below, and this is important because a complication has been associated with the procedure. So we click on that and it lists the procedures that the patient had in this admission. So the reason that the person had an infection was for the laceration on their back. The melanoma site excision actually looks good, it's not infected. Then it asks us if we want to make another complication. And for this patient, fortunately, they did not have another complication, so we'll click no. So we're still seeing a red tab and we don't quite know why. So if we click on the patient's name right at the top, we get to see the whole patient's record, and more importantly there's a tick button up at the top here which is currently yellow. If it was ready to complete, it would be green. So if we click on this, it will tell you where the missing information is. And here it says that there are associated diagnoses missing from the procedures. If we click on that, it takes us to the procedure where the missing information is. And it's highlighted in red here that there is no associated diagnosis yet with this procedure. And in fact, there isn't. But we can't see actually that there is melanoma here yet. So first of all, we need to have a final diagnosis before it will show up here. So that takes me over to looking at this diagnosis. Now fortunately the pathology is back, and this was a T1 N0 or MX because it wasn't really assessed pathologically, and the patient's still awaiting their staging scan. So that is now a final diagnosis, and we'll click yes, and now it's a final diagnosis. If we go back to where the missing information was, we can now see the right diagnosis that we want to associate with that procedure. If I go back up here, it's showing where there's more missing information, and I can click on that. And this one here, the excision biopsy of the melanoma, is missing, so we'll click on that. And now I've just realized that I associated the wrong diagnosis with the laceration, so I'm just going to go back to that and change it. And now you can see a green tick, which means it's ready for sign-off. Now if you're a registrar, you won't be able to do this sign-off function. This is only seen by consultants. If we go back to the patient feed by clicking select patient, we can now see that this patient appears under completed patients, and your job is done in terms of editing this record. Also to note that a lot of our patients who come through our service don't have an operation, but they will still need data entering in at the end of their stay because they will need some diagnoses put in, and they may still have had complications from transfusions, from interventional radiology, etc. So it's worth making sure that those clinical complications are as accurate as possible.